Walking a path along the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road to the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Inside, you find a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, and whether the snail is the greatest monster in all of medieval literature. At a corner table, by the fire, are three people. One of them is explaining how the nation of Malawi has a weirdly underrated coat of arms. And that's me, Matthew Mellema, and welcome to Believe to See. We are a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Here at the Anselm Society, we have one very simple mission, and that is a renaissance of the Christian imagination. To find out more about the Anselm Society, please visit us at anselmsociety.org. And while you're at it, please rate and review this podcast at iTunes, Spotify, wherever you listen to it. We really appreciate it. Increases the visibility of the show. And I have found social media has been weighing on my mind more so than usual. Let me bring in our first co-host, Mandy Houck. How are you doing, Mandy?
I'm great, except now I'm worried. What are you going to...
You should be worried. First of all, what social media are you active on that you check frequently? You post all that stuff.
Well, my iPad in the morning asked me if I want to check Twitter, so I'm guessing Twitter is my main. Twitter and Instagram, probably.
Okay. Twitter and Instagram. Do you post? I see you post on Instagram.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mostly on my story.
Okay. I have complained on this podcast before about how I just don't get Instagram, and I've been told it's important for me to do, so I do it and I post things, but it's not the sort of thing I scroll through.
Right.
But I scroll through Twitter, but I don't post. I'm a lurker, and I'm okay with that now. But the new thing, so I am going forward with my book. I'm just looking into publishing it, whatever venue and all this stuff, and as I've been talking to people, marketing folks, people who know what they're talking about, the one thing they keep saying is, Matt, if you're going to be writing these middle grade books, you need to be on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok.
So
okay.
I am on TikTok now.
You are? I am on TikTok, but the only reason I have an account is so I can stalk my daughters. But my older daughter doesn't really post anything. My younger daughter does, and hers are hilarious. You should follow Bethany.
Bethany, if you're listening, this is a lot for you to deal with after you're on the last one.
After the Shakespeare argument, she might not approve you as a follower.
I had a fun time.
She did too. But
so,
no, TikTok, so what do you post on TikTok?
So first of all, even getting on TikTok, I feel aged me 40 years. I got on, it's I don't understand kids these days. This is terrifying. Why are all of these 18-year-olds dancing to random songs? How do I turn it off? But what I'm trying to do is get an account that looks at, so I'll do book reviews of middle grade. I'll do little riffs on entertainment, especially toward the middle grade audience.
Also, I gotta follow you now.
You should.
I will follow 3 accounts now. Emmy,
look up my handle.
Bethany, and Matthew.
Listeners, if you want to, throw me a bone, I don't know.
Oh, self-promoting.
It could be a pity follow at Matthew Mellema.
Pity follows count. They are whole follows. They are not half.
And if maybe you can follow me, and if I'm doing something horrendously wrong, y'all can just, maybe send me a message and let me know. I'd really appreciate it. First video's out. It's a legal argument based on the movie Tangled.
Of course it is. That is my favorite Disney movie.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Did you know that Mother Gothel had a legally recognizable ownership interest in the flower?
Yes.
That Corona stole.
Believe it or not, you and I have had this conversation before.
That's what the first TikTok video is about. So. But anyway, let's bring in our third co-host.
Woohoo!
And this is news, everyone. She has now officially joined the roster of co-hosts. Please welcome to the table she's been here several times, but now officially as a co-host, Christina Brown. How are you?
I'm good and thrilled to be here.
Oh, good. So Christina, like I said, she has been on the show several times before. Those familiar with Anselm will know she does lots of stuff around Anselm. So she's the head of the Arts Guild. She runs various events. Her husband, Brian Brown, is the president. You have other titles, right? Are you co-president, dictator for life? How does that work?
First lady?
First lady, actually, that has been used before, that name, that title. And I'm like,
But you have more power.
that's cool. I do like the first lady title.
First lady, though, is mainly symbolic power. You have real power.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's generous. I love this. I do. I love partnering with Brian and just, doing what we love and loving the people we love and the people we don't know and loving them too.
You do a great job.
Yep.
It's
So,
awesome.
so Christina runs the Arts Guild. So the meetings, she coordinates, she plans all the stuff for it. We very, very, very much appreciate her. You will hear her more in the very near future because she'll be running the July Pub Night, which we'll be posting in the next couple weeks or so. So you'll be hearing more from her about that, and it'll be super fun. But Christina, really quick, TikTok, Instagram. How do you what do you say if you TikTok? Do you talk? I don't know.
Usually there's not much talking. If there is talking, it's like what do you call it? Over voice? So like a voiceover rather.
Right.
I just totally did that. Okay, voiceover, right? So like I've
been
seen
trying.
so many TikToks where there's someone else's voice over your dubbed, lips.
Right.
Hilarious. For some reason it gets every time.
Bethany
And I
is
have-
especially good at that.
Is
So
she?
you should follow Bethany.
Some people are really good.
Yeah.
See, I have an 18-year-old sister, so it works in my favor.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm following her, and we have the same sense of humor. So she's constantly sending me TikToks.
Oh, yeah.
That I'm just saying, this is hysterical, and then I'll send her one. It works well.
Yep.
Okay.
It's good.
So you guys are both much more adept at TikTok than me, so this is good.
Oh, hey, if you want some help, though, go to TikTok Fails on YouTube.
TikTok fails?
TikTok
so it'll
fails.
show you what not to do?
Oh, yeah.
What if he
Amazing.
finds his current video on TikTok fail?
Then maybe he needs to rethink his career.
Yeah.
So again, it's at Matthew Mellum on TikTok. If after this conversation you still want to follow me for some reason.
Oh,
You're great,
support.
Matthew. We love you.
Support is
thanks.
good.
So speaking of love, this episode is about one of the things that I love most of all in the world. And it's actually going to be something I plan on TikToking a lot about. So if you don't dig this conversation, maybe don't follow my TikTok. Just let's save us all the thing. But it is the subject of heraldry.
Do, 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 do.
Thank you.
Was that good?
That was good.
Oh, thanks.
So this has been an interest of mine for quite some time because, as you all know, I love tradition and I love rules and I love monsters.
Wait, what?
And heraldry has all three. It's a very long traditional thing that's bound by lots and lots of rules, and it often depicts really weird monsters.
Yeah.
So, a couple months ago, I was sitting at one of our Anselm leadership team meetings, and I don't know why, but someone said, maybe you, Christina, triggered something in my head like, wait, we're an arts guild. What is a guild without a coat of arms?
Yeah.
And it was a very fair question.
Very fair.
So I pitched this to Christina. She may have thought I was joking, but she said go for it. So I dove into the research. Boy, did I dive in, and it was fun.
Great.
And I got lots of different options. I presented them to the guild. We have voted on it. And at this podcast, I'm going to share to the listeners and to the rest of the guild who won the voting and what is going to be our actual coat of arms. And
Okay.
I'm really psyched. Evangeline, her husband Corey, who's also been on the show, has agreed to actually do the art for the show, for the coat of arms. Although when he agreed to it, I think he may have thought I was joking, but I was very serious.
Can I interject? What is this normal for you to think people think you're joking?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just clarifying. I think Corey is probably excited to do it.
Well,
That's up
Corey,
his alley.
hey.
Corey,
But
no pressure.
Before we do that, might as well take the temperature in the room. Christina, Mandy, your thoughts on heraldry going into this, or do you have thoughts on heraldry?
Oh, I love heraldry.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely did not think you were joking when you brought it up, and I was extremely enthusiastic. Maybe a little too enthusiastic.
I wouldn't have thought you were joking.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
my best experience with heraldry was growing up with a father who just loved history, and he loved England. And England is quite famous for all of that goodness and crests and family crests. And so I have heard a lot, and I have become a history nerd like my father. Though I wish I was, as informed as he is. He remembers everything.
Well,
but yes, so I grew up.
He's a lot older. You'll get there.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that
welcome.
information. That's good to know.
So
But anyway, sorry. Just he liked to show us architecture.
Yeah.
And there are many crests and heraldry on like Tudor fireplaces, and so therefore, anytime I see a family crest in an old house, I instantly want to know the story.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh,
well,
that's good. I found another heraldry file? Enthusiast.
oh, okay.
Mandy?
Yeah, when I was in 7th grade, like, I don't know, 20 years before either of you were born, we were assigned to make our own crest, our own family crest.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, and with, I got out all my colored pencils and all that stuff. And that was really my first introduction to it. And then for my older daughter, Emmy's high school graduation trip, she wanted to go to England and Scotland. So we went to both of those and we saw lots of that sort of thing. I have to say, I prefer Scotland. All of Scotland's crests and insignias are much more colorful and vibrant and
really?
Interesting. Oh, yes. Even the crown jewels, I preferred Scotland's.
Interesting.
Yes.
Do you have an idea why that is?
It's most. Do I know why they're more colorful?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Okay. I just love cultures. All cultures have a personality.
I would think because Scotland, the stereotypes about England, very proper in Scotland being, the rebels. Yeah. So the Scottish are pirates now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So Scotland, their national animal is the unicorn, which I find that so cheeky because, spoiler, unicorns aren't real, but Scotland chose them as their.
Hey, they thought they were real once upon a time.
I have some thoughts on that.
All right, I'm sure you have thoughts on most things.
My heraldry treatise.
Which is why we love you.
But, so I feel like for a lot of folks coming into this, like I'm picturing what my dad would think if he ever found out about this. Just be like, oh boy, this is super nerdy. What are you doing? And my response to that is, yes, it is nerdy. And I think that is actually fascinating. Because for me, going back and researching the history of heraldry shows a couple things. First off, it shows that we've always had nerds. Nerds in the Middle Ages weren't into, Lord of the Rings or Star Trek or, Game of Thrones.
Presumably.
They were into heraldry.
Yeah.
So you see the rules that these people developed. It's like, certain colors can't be matched together. There's this list of acceptable colors. There's this list of acceptable tinctures. There's this animal that can be paired with this animal and this stuff and blah, 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 blah. It's like, these are major nerds. Yeah, it's just they happen to live in like the 14th century.
I'm a word nerd, and I got all excited about the word tincture. That's such a cool word.
That's funny. I noticed that too. I loved it.
Yeah,
that's also coming up. Okay, so that is one of the things. And another thing is when you really dig into heraldry, so especially like coats of arms or the heraldic achievement. I'll explain what that means later. Don't worry. You really understand how these aren't just a whole bunch of nerdy pictures. They are that, but they are also a story. And on Believe to See, we're all about story, about making your stories better, finding your own story. It's the way to tell the story of you, of your family, of your nation, of your guild. And it does this through the language of symbols. So pictures that became more than just what they are. So you'll see a picture of a lion, and it's a very common heraldic symbol. But it's not just a lion. The lion stands for all of these things. It's sort of this common symbolic language. So you can almost think of them as different flavors in a dish. Where we all know what the flavors are, but you can mix them up in whatever combo that you want.
Oh, I like that. Well done, sir.
Thank you. So with that, I want to walk through what we want to communicate as an arts guild about what our story is. Coats of arms can work in a couple different ways. There's one, it describes the history. So it's very common for coats of arms to be like, hey, people who were like crusaders often had this charge on their shield. Or people who were prominent in battle had this. People who were musicians had this.
Yeah.
So it shows your history, but also your family history. Like if you're 500 years out of the Crusades, you're going to be like, hey, that image, that's from my grandpa, great-great-great-great-grandpa, who was, that.
Yeah.
But also, it's aspirational. So it's looking forward. It's like, these are our values as a community. This is what we want to strive for. Mm-hmm. So I want to try to capture both of these with the coat of arms. First of all...
Would you say then that the aspirational piece is sort of a mission statement in symbols?
Yeah.
There you go.
You can almost think of this as the proto-mission statement, or you can almost look at the heraldry as sort of proto-logos.
Okay.
It's like, just like every company, you'd expect to have a logo today.
Right.
Every guild, every great house, you'd expect to have a coat of arms.
There you go.
They communicate the same things. A good logo will tell you something about the company and tell you sort of about how they view themselves, right?
Got it.
So the coat of arms should do a similar thing.
Okay.
I have heard that, like how many... how much heraldry has involved lots of arrogance in the families who are using these crests, and how
now that's
many of them are rather inaccurate, and then there have been competitions between families who are working with their coats of arms and maybe tweaking a few things here or there.
Oh, that...
We might have to have some story time here later, Christina.
Yeah.
But there was a big controversy with Shakespeare's family.
Oh, I didn't know.
Because, William Shakespeare, his dad was, very middle class. He was like a merchant. But he was reasonably successful. Successful enough that toward the end of his life, he was able to apply for a coat of arms. And he barely got it. Like, he was barely important enough to get a coat of arms. And a lot of Shakespeare's contemporaries, who are a lot more aristocratic than him, made fun of him. There's actually lines in Ben Jonson's plays where, if you know what's going on, he's actually making fun of Shakespeare in his family's brand new and kind of stupid coat of arms.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
How rude.
But, so let's take a half step back and look at some history, just so we're all dealing with the same stuff.
Gotcha.
So having sort of images to identify a person, especially on the battlefield, goes back, at least to ancient Egypt. So you see the pharaohs have their own different things to identify themselves. Mm-hmm. Different companies of their soldiers would have different things to identify them. This goes on to the Greeks, where, every hoplite shield would have a different image on it.
Every what?
So hoplite is a Greek foot soldier.
Okay.
The ones with the shield and the long spear.
Thank you.
So Leonidas in 300 is a hoplite. So
when I watch 300, I will remember that.
Thank you. I hope you share that with Peter. I'm thinking, okay, yeah. But these shields would commonly have an image on them. And shields, because armor was expensive in ancient Greece, would often get passed down through the family. So this would be sort of your family image on the shield. Fast forward to the High Middle Ages, when knights are really coming into their own, armor's getting really effective, so an armored knight on the battlefield is very significant. They're also very highborn and want to know, hey dudes, this awesome dude in the armor, it's me. I'm from this family. So they'd each develop their own symbol, and these would all also get passed down from father to son, and it would get modified as the son gets added, and it eventually turned into its own language. Mm-hmm. And this language persisted even after armored knights stopped being a thing. So let me walk you all through the full panoply of the coat of arms. This is going to be important for trying to develop the Anselm coat of arms. First of all, a coat of arms is a little bit of a misnomer. We're really developing the Anselm Society Arts Guild heraldic achievement.
I was going to ask about that, actually, as far as guilds who had a representational symbol. I don't know if this word is okay.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. A symbol, and then versus coat of arms, battle insignia. This is how special we are. Because I know there were guild signs for actual guilds and people who did trades and things like that. Mm-hmm. So, is there a difference? And if there is, what changed that or yeah?
So a coat of arms is basically a part of the heraldic achievement. So the coat of arms, the heraldic achievement, you'll see a shield in the center. And then if it's full heraldic achievement, it'll have a supporter on either side of the shield. This can be an animal, this can be a human, this can be a mythical creature, but it's holding up the shield on either side. The coat of arms is the shield with the picture on it. The picture on the shield is called the charge. So let's think of the United Kingdom as one of the most famous ones. So the shield has all the lions on it. It has the 3 lions, which are the battle symbol of King Richard the Lionheart, which, side note, awesome. In the supporters, you'll see a lion on one side and a unicorn on the other. The lion is the traditional symbol of England, and the unicorn is the traditional symbol of Scotland. There's a couple reasons Scotland picked this. One, like Christina said, in the Middle Ages, the unicorn was not necessarily considered a mythical beast. There are reports of unicorns that, looking back on it now with hindsight, were either rhinoceroses or like different species of antelopes that were found in like the Holy Land.
Oh, okay.
And these stories got passed along back.
That's what you
But
think.
also, the real reason Scotland picked the unicorn is traditionally the unicorn is seen as the great enemy of the lion.
Why didn't any of my tour guides tell me that?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So
I know it now, so it's fine.
All right. And so listeners, if you want, maybe in the show notes I'll include, I wrote a whole memo for the Guild about this, so maybe I'll include the memo in the show notes.
I think you should.
If not,
It's a good memo.
Google heraldic achievement, you can follow along. So we have the shield in the center. On either side is like this animal or person, the supporter. The supporters are standing on something. It's usually like a bank of grass, a rocky outcropping, and that is called the compartment or the mount. And on top of that, usually in like a scroll with fancy letters, is where the motto is. The motto is usually in Latin, though not always. So now let's go to on top of the shield. There's usually a helmet if the person or organization is associated with royalty or nobility. We are not, so I'm sorry to say we do not get a helmet.
Darn it!
I'm sorry. If one of you can move to like Canada or England and become a baroness or something, then we can talk. Right now, we don't get a helmet.
Wasn't there something about everyone can buy a square foot of land in Scotland?
Oh, we should look into that.
That's actually true.
So like if we as a guild, I mean, if we could all have consecutive square feet, I don't know.
True. I don't know how much of it's a fad at the moment, but yes, technically, if you buy a square foot of land,
And then you're a
guild
you're a
meeting,
lord or a lady,
you're
right?
a lord or a lady.
we should discuss this so
I
that way
agree.
we can add a helmet to our coat of arms.
I am making a note of that
But
right now.
anyway, over top of the helmet is called the torse, which is basically it's a band of cloth that on a real helmet sort of kept the fancy stuff on top from like falling off. So then on top of the helmet is called the crest. So again, you can picture the United Kingdom heraldic achievement. It has like a fancy crowned helmet because, you know, the king and queen are all fancy. And then coming out of it is another lion that is on all fours and, you know, looking at the camera. So that is called the crest.
Okay.
So there we have it. That is the heraldic achievement, and I have already determined some of this for you all. You're welcome. I thought about doing it all myself.
Oh.
But then I realized if I were to do it all by myself, everyone else would hate it. And I know this because I put it to a vote and everyone else hated my ideas. So what I decided to do is give a couple different options for supporters, a couple different options for the crest, and several different options for the charges. Again, the charges are the picture on the shield. So what I want to do right now is walk through this. So let's walk through the supporters first, then we'll go to everything else. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right.
I'm
I
sorry.
always have questions.
Go for it.
No, I just mean in general.
In general.
In general.
Okay.
I always have questions.
Which I love. I love that about you, actually.
All right, so let's start with the supporters. And again, as a reminder, the supporters are going to be on either side of the shield, and they're kind of holding the shield up.
Got it.
Okay.
Quick question. I do have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, apparently it occurred to me after
No, I love that.
that comment. Why are they supporters, right? I mean, if they're holding the shield up, like what is, I don't know. I'm all like, representation is so fun to me, but what does that represent, really? I mean.
So I believe in the earlier days, you'd have like an actual thing. You'd have the actual shield, and you put the decorations on either side. Okay. And then eventually you didn't have the actual shield because like knights weren't actually going around anymore. Right. So the heraldry moved to paper.
Oh, so it literally was like a stand, like bookends
I
would
believe
be
so.
for the shield
they
to
would actually
rest
support
on.
the shield. You'd actually have like a helmet there with like the crest, I believe.
Oh, I want one.
I want one.
Well, maybe that can be next. Let's ask Corey.
Corey!
Make one for us.
Corey, you can forge things in
He'll always
fire.
volunteer for something if he thinks you're joking. So,
Or if it involves fire, he'll volunteer
you
wholeheartedly.
but then, the conventions got kept even after it moved to paper.
Great, cool.
So we have the supporters there. They're sort of holding up this paper shield now. First of all, we have several options of like genre of supporters. You can have people being the supporters. You'll see this oftentimes in like areas that were colonized by the British under kind of sketchy circumstances. So you'll see like, oh, the supporters here, we have a pilgrim dude and an Iroquois man. And look at them holding up the shield in brotherly harmony. Nothing to see here. But also, besides all that stuff, I just think people as supporters looks really dumb. So I'm sorry, we're not having it. Because they're always just sort of standing there. They can't be doing the cool poses.
You can't do the muscular thing? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like the Heisman Trophy, though? And they could be holding it from, like, the back, the hand that goes behind. Sorry.
I can do this with one hand tied.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, goodness. So there are different words
Captain
for, like,
America.
all the different poses. And that's one of the many reasons I really like heraldries, because there's, like, the lion rampant, which is the lion that's, like, reared up, like, rawr, scratching its paws at you.
Yeah.
And there's another one for, like, lions that are, like, standing on all four paws. Another name for a lion that's standing on three paws with one paw raised. Another one for a lion that's looking at you. All these have different Latin names, and I friggin' love it.
I
Okay,
love it too.
see, now this is how I'm going to spend my weekend instead of writing my novel, so it's your fault.
Well, if you follow my TikTok account, I'll have all this information.
Okay, you know what? Cool. I'll just do that. I will do that. Because this is fast. This is even more fascinating than I realized. Thank you.
So roughly speaking, all of these, again, they're going to be animals because people are out, because people are lame as supporters.
Yes.
They're all going to be rampant, which basically means you're reared up on your hind legs with your two sort of forelimbs outstretched, looking ready for battle.
Yeah.
So we eliminated people. So next we have the two options of a real animal or a mythical animal.
Right.
I thought that given that we are the Arts Guild and we are all about the imagination, these should be mythical creatures. So either creatures that exist only in the imagination or creatures that are based on real creatures but have been taken to different heights by human imagination. Would you like to make a pitch for any real animals at this point? I'll reject it right away, but you can make the pitch.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
No, because I am completely in agreement with you.
Okay.
I'm a unicorn lover through and through, so I'm
Yeah.
Well, that's good because the
You should
first...
savor this moment that I'm completely in agreement with you.
All right.
Cheers. I'm sorry, I interrupted your announcement. Proceed.
So the first supporter that we're going to consider here that I presented to the group and it voted on.
Anonymously, may I? I mean, unanimously, may I add?
Not quite unanimously.
Close enough. No?
There was someone who changed their vote after they felt bad for you. Just saying.
Well, that's true.
I need this story later. Anyway.
So the first one is the unicorn.
Yay!
So I started...
Hashtag unicorns are real.
I'll be real. The only reason I started researching the unicorn for our coat of arms was because Christina told me to. But the more
I knew it was a real thing.
Yes.
the more I dug into it, the more I started liking it. So first of all, a little bit of background on the unicorn. Again, in the medieval mindset, the unicorn was not a mythical creature. It was considered a real creature. It was a creature that might be rare. It might live in far distant lands. None of us have never seen one, but none of us have seen any of these animals. No one had ever seen a lion either, right? But they still did it.
Yeah, that's true.
So unicorns, if you look at the origin, it's really fascinating because again, they seem to come up from travelers' tales. So imagine that, you live in, rural France or like Bavaria or like Wales. You've never been to the Middle East. You're never going to go there. But like your grandpa knew a guy who went there as a crusader when he was a young man. And he told stories. those stories got passed down.
Okay.
So they tell stories of these sort of creatures that had kind of the body of a horse, with like the feet of a deer, and they had like these big horns on their heads and all this stuff. So you can imagine how those would get, taken to in different directions. You'd invent different stories around them. That's basically what happened with the unicorn.
So it's sort of like the game of telephone.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right.
So you also see like Marco Polo describing seeing a rhinoceros, a unicorn on his way to China. But when you look at it, like we have the passage, I remember reading, it's like, that's a rhinoceros. So that's the general consensus.
Come on, Marco.
So it's like, it's nearly the size of an elephant with similar looking feet. And it's like, okay. But you can see Marco didn't know any of that.
Right.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, that's a unicorn. They're a lot uglier than I thought they'd be. But they also have different species of antelope that are native to like the Holy Land that have been suggested as possible ones. You picture like an antelope in profile.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh, that's one horn.
Or an antelope who's had, a catastrophe.
Exactly.
That's fair.
And you've only seen one picture in profile. Eventually, it goes from sticking straight out of the head to sticking forward. It becomes more of a stylized horse body. Antelopes kind of look like horses with like deer feet. And eventually it's given a lion's tail for good measure. So that's the unicorn, the origins.
Got it.
But this is one of my weirdest hills that I fight on. I don't think unicorns should be considered girly.
No.
I agree.
I agree.
Well, first of all, it's basically a stallion with a sword sticking out of its head. How's that girly?
Oh yeah, and a whip for a tail.
Yeah, exactly.
A whip for a tail.
But second, if you look at the old medieval bestiaries, unicorns were considered very fierce, completely untamable. Like I said earlier, for Scotland, the sworn enemy of the lion. So if you consider yourself the enemy of the lion, you're probably a pretty bad animal.
Yeah,
right?
you probably don't sparkle.
Yeah, exactly. But something that makes it very interesting is their association with young maidens. And this gets into a lot of really interesting symbolism. Because according to the folktale, the only thing that could attract/tame a unicorn is a young maiden. Yeah, there's actually really great and sad and beautiful representation of this in Once and Future King. So check that out.
Yeah.
Didn't it have to be a virgin too?
Yes.
Or that's what you mean by maiden?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the thought is the unicorn is drawn to the purity of the young maiden.
Right, purity, yeah.
So they would go and rest their head on the maiden's lap, and that's the only way you could capture a unicorn. So that connection eventually, as it gets passed down imaginatively, becomes like a connection to like the Virgin Mary. And
Christ,
that in turn makes the unicorn sort of a Christ like figure.
Right.
So you'll see it sort of portrayed that way in some medieval art, which is really interesting.
Sort of like Pietà, almost, or?
Yeah, almost.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it, I think. So yeah, it's sort of this, sort of like this weird ricochet symbolism, but it gets to this spot.
It is really cool. And you go to a museum now, like with this information in your head, you look at if the museum has medieval art, you look and you see, wow, a unicorn, and it's usually, medieval religious art, and you're like, wow, interesting. So yeah,
That's
it's kind
so
of fun
great.
to have that background. And
And that sort of shows the language of symbolism, right?
right.
Like this thing, it seems kind of random how the Christological symbolism comes, because there's this folktale about maidens attracting unicorns. Who's the most important maiden? The Virgin Mary. So it's sort of like this weird
Ricochet was a good word. I like
yeah,
that.
but it, once it gets established, it gets really established in the art. Where if you're looking at medieval artwork, like Christina said, that's probably the lens you should view it through. So that is the unicorn. Also, according to this very awesome heraldry website I found, the unicorn represents virtue, courage, and strength. It can also symbolize purity, elegance, and charm. So yeah, not a bad combo of traits to have. And you'll notice, again, I'll see if I can attach the memo on the show notes. I picked an especially burly and manly specimen of the unicorn to use. I did that very intentionally.
It does not have a, pink mane.
Exactly. It's ready to fight.
I might vote for some sparkles from Corey, though. Just a few.
Just a few. Okay.
Okay.
I can live with a few. So that's supported.
Do you know pink actually was originally a boy color?
Really?
It was.
Yes, it was.
Actually, it's true.
But anyway.
Okay.
Colonial? Wasn't it colonial time period?
I think so, yeah.
And blue was a girl color.
I don't
It flip-flopped. I don't know
I don't
why.
think colors should have gender, but anyway, so
I agree.
Burly unicorn.
We do need to have colors for the coat of arms.
I'm getting to
We
that.
do.
Okay.
Good segue.
I'm way ahead
All
here.
right, all right.
I'll get to that later, but first we need to get to the supporters.
Yeah.
So next supporter option is the griffin. So
Not option.
well, this is the option I presented to the guild.
Okay.
After I present them, we can discuss the voting results.
Oh, right.
Some of us are, there may have been some voting irregularities. I don't know.
Okay.
So the griffin is a really, really interesting creature too. So let's start with the sort of the way the symbolism came to be described. Then the history of the griffin, I think, is one of the most interesting of any mythical creature in the medieval bestiaries. So the griffin, of course, is a combination of the eagle and the lion. So in the medieval mindset, you have this sort of hierarchy, this great chain of being. And I think this is sort of related to where you have the lion, who, as we all know, is the king of the beasts. You also have the eagle, which is the king of the skies, king of the birds. Side note, this is super interesting. What was the medieval king of the fish? Can you guess?
Aquaman.
It's not a terrible guess.
Oh, dang it.
Triton.
No, I don't think I have a guess.
The dolphin.
The dolphin.
You know what? I am so
Perfect.
sad. I was going to guess that, and unfortunately I didn't. But it is
Say.
thanks to Ned Buster's amazing art that I saw a dolphin, looked at it yesterday, didn't know what it was. A friend asked me, I was like, I don't know, I need to find out. I know a little more now.
So the medieval
There you go.
dolphin in heraldry got really stylized because, dolphins are hard to see because they're under the ocean and,
And also heraldry. I
Yeah.
mean.
Oh, there was a
But-
narwhal that can perpetuate
Oh.
the unicorn myth.
That's
I thought narwhals were fake. Like, I thought they were a joke.
they're too perfect, right?
They
Unicorns
are.
in the sea.
I mean, we're talking about like within the last 2 years, my girls finally convinced me narwhals are real. I thought they were this goofy thing on Elf. Anyway, I'm sorry. We're not talking about narwhals.
Or
We're talking about
dolphins.
or dolphins. Right.
So dolphins would, like king of the seas. We're not in the seas in Colorado, so we're looking at the eagle, king of the birds, and lion, king of the beasts. So obviously the creature that is a combination of both is going to be very much associated with the regal, with the kingly, with the royal.
Obviously.
So we're starting out at a good
guardian,
place
really.
there.
Guardian.
Yeah.
Also, in the mythology and sort of the stories, the griffin was associated with guarding ancient and rare treasures, which I feel is a good vocational aspiration for us as artists in the Arts Guild. We are guarding this tradition of the arts passed down, and these are very rare, and they are ancient treasures that we should very much want to guard. So that is sort of the symbolism with the griffin. I think the guardian of ancient treasures, the main, and the royal connections are the main things in terms of the symbolism.
I love it as preservation too. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, describing the sort of physiology of the griffin, there's the head of an eagle, the forelimbs of the eagle, the limbs of an eagle, and then the body, hindquarters, and tail of a lion. Here
With
is
wings.
I would not
Yes.
want to meet him in an alley.
no. So here is I think this is fascinating. I read this in a book and I think this explanation is gained wide acceptance, not universal, but wide acceptance as to the origins of the griffin, at least what helped spread it. So the regions, sort of in the near Asia, so think about like maybe where like the stands are, like Kyrgyzstan, all that stuff. That was part of the Silk Road that would connect Europe to the Far East. And one part of it was famous for griffins. Apparently griffins would live out in the wild and they would attack people, etc. So all these stories.
Interesting.
But something that they realized, that later archaeologists and paleontologists realized, is there was a dinosaur there that was unearthed, fossilized in multitudes, called the Protoceratops. Everyone, you might want to do a Google image search of the Protoceratops. It's about 6 feet long, so about the size of a lion. Protoceratops, you probably got the connection to Triceratops. So it has sort of a Triceratops-looking skull, only no horns.
Ah.
So let's think about this. It has the same frill, has the same beak, about the size of a lion. So if you see this big thing with a beak, you're going to think eagle. See this frill, which is very delicate and could get damaged, sort of flying backwards, like that looks like wings.
Yeah.
On top of something that looks like the body of a lion. So the theory goes that people found the fossilized remains of Protoceratops and inferred that this was some sort of eagle-lion hybrid.
Yeah.
And they found it in the regions where the Griffin's legends really came from, and I think it's absolutely fascinating. So I'm very happy to have the Griffin there for that, among other reasons. Any questions about the Griffin before I continue to my votes for the supporters?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Mandy, I saw you doing a Google search of
I was.
Protoceratops.
I did.
Did it help?
It helped, and it will give me nightmares. But that, you know,
If you have nightmares, think
Pros
of,
and cons.
Sarah in The Land Before Time, the little grumpy brat
Yes.
Triceratops. That'll help.
okay, thank
Yeah,
you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So that is the Griffin. Now let's go to some other ones. These are a little more off the beaten track. Because, you know, unicorn and griffin,
little.
they're pretty standard mythological creatures, right? Everyone knows what they are.
Yes,
These are a little less well known,
a little.
but no less deserving of our consideration.
Agreed.
He says to nobody in particular in the Arts Guild. Okay, first one. The camel leopard. I love camel leopards. Because again, let's go back. You are just a peasant in Wales. But your great-grandfather knows a guy who knew a guy who did the Silk Road when he was a young man.
Yes.
And saw this weird animal when he was in northern Africa. This animal had roughly the body of a camel, but the spots of a leopard.
And no hump.
Well, stories, who's to say what happens?
Okay.
So this gets passed down, and we all assume, you know, we live in a world where there's griffins, I guess. So maybe this is just a result of the unnatural union of the camel and the leopard. So thus the creature camel leopard was coined. And it became established in medieval heraldry, the camel leopard. Well, if you will look at a camel leopard, you will notice...
I do recommend Google imaging all this, you guys.
Do a Google
Yes.
image search of the camel leopard, and something you will soon discover is it's a giraffe. Like, it's not like based on a giraffe, it's a straight up
It is
giraffe.
a straight up giraffe.
I think that's hilarious.
I do too.
I just think it's absolutely hilarious that it's a friggin' giraffe, but there are all these stories out there. It's like, ooh, the leopard and the camel, how did that happen? There's all these stories. So that is that's one of my options for the real but myths surrounding them. The next one, this one's dope. Come on. The heraldic panther. No, not the normal panther.
The heraldic.
The heraldic panther. So, listeners, I implore you, if I was able to attach the memo, look at the picture I attached. If not, do an image search of heraldic panther and just marvel at this wonderful and strange beast.
I thought I voted for that.
You did not.
I did not. Darn it.
Believe me, I know.
He would have remembered.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So the heraldic panther looks roughly sort of like a bear. There's variations of what this panther looks like. There's no set thing that the body looks like. However, they seem to agree that it has white fur with multicolored polka dots all over it. And you'll also notice that fire is coming out of the creature's mouth and ears. This is something called, in heraldry we call this the heraldic panther incensed. Here's how Wikipedia explains the legend of the heraldic panther. Under medieval belief, after feasting, the panther will sleep in a cave for a total of 3 days. After this period, the panther roars, in the process emitting a sweet-smelling odor. This odor draws in any creatures who smell it. They are eaten by the panther, and the cycle begins again. Come on.
I
don't know, that does not have any symbolism that makes sense. Because if anything, it's like, our art attracts people in, then we devour them.
Oh my God.
Like the praying mantis and her mate.
But also, do you guys remember the book Put Me in the Zoo?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah.
I know.
I agree.
I think Put Me in the Zoo is a heraldic panther.
It probably is.
Which means those
yep.
kids are in trouble.
Yeah, they are. All that fire.
Yep. Oh, I just
Watch
love
out,
this thing.
kids.
I just love this thing. I'm just going to look at it for a while.
Okay.
Okay. So those are all the supporters. Now I want to do the crest.
Okay.
Again, the crest is the sort of creature sticking out of the helmet. And again, we don't have a helmet because we're peasants, but it's sticking out
Until
of the
we
shield.
buy all those square feet
Yes.
in Scotland.
Exactly.
Stay tuned.
So
Stay tuned.
this first one is it's pretty doggone simple, right? It's the phoenix. We at the Anselm Society, our goal is a renaissance of the Christian imagination. Phoenix, the quintessential symbol of death and rebirth. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, do I need to say much more to it than this?
No.
Nah.
I find it
But you
fascinating.
will. I'm just kidding.
I do find it fascinating. I was looking through, apparently Clement, First Clement, it's one of these works was written by, he was like the second or third pope. So like there's Peter, one other guy, then Clement. And,
One other guy. Sorry.
and this was a letter, the Epistle of Clement, that was so high esteemed. It was some people were like, hey, is this part of the Bible? So it didn't end up making it, but it was held in very high esteem. But he talks about legends of the phoenix and uses it as a sort of an illustration of resurrection from the dead and a symbol of Christ. So, I mean, obviously death and resurrection, the phoenix symbol is pretty apparent there. It's also been used for the griffin, because the griffin has the two natures, the eagle and the lion, in one. And when I started digging, there are lots and lots of animals that have been used as a Christ figure in medieval heraldry. So there's, like I said, there's the unicorn, there's the phoenix, there's the griffin, there's the lion, the goat has been used. Like lots and lots of different animals have been used. And it's really fascinating. It sort of shows how once you let your imagination go, you can sort of find that typology anywhere. So
The goat is fascinating. Wait, we need to talk about that sometime.
I didn't expect to see that, but yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The sheep and the goats.
Yes.
Interesting.
Okay, my next option for the crest is, again, listeners, please do a Google image search.
It's pretty cool.
The salamander in flames.
Yes.
So picture a salamander on fire. Let me explain. Okay, so there's this ancient, like going back to the ancient Greeks, up through like Augustine writes about this in the City of God, up through the medieval times. There's a sort of folk belief that the salamander excreted an oily substance on its skin that allowed it to survive even in flames. So I feel like that is a good symbol for us because it shows perseverance through tribulation and hard times. So you can see like the art's going through this hard moment.
Well, yeah, he's on fire.
But the salamander is enduring.
Yeah.
Come on.
Go, Sally.
Come on.
Sally.
Okay.
Sally the salamander.
So that was the last of my crest ideas. So basically what I did for ease of voting for the guild listeners, I sort of grouped them into two categories. I had one category, it was the phoenix, unicorn, and griffin. They're sort of a package deal. Then I had another where it was the camel leopard, heraldic panther, and flaming salamander as a package deal. And we put it to a vote at the most recent guild meeting. And Christina, you're free to share the results.
Let's just say Matt was really
Disappointed?
badly outvoted.
Yeah, he was disappointed. I forgot it was a package deal. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I voted.
That's what I remember is that I liked if it had not been a
to put
package
me in
deal.
the zoo panther.
I did.
Yeah.
But because it was a package deal, I couldn't.
So
Because I needed the unicorn, man.
I insisted that the voting be secret so no one would be influenced by it. So I had everyone put their hands down and raise their hands. I was the one counting the votes.
Put their heads down and raise their hands.
Their heads down and raise their hands. I wanted to vote for the salamander, the panther, and the camel leopard. Literally everyone else voted for the other one. So even though I decided to go through the motions like, anyone for the camel leopard? And then I raised my hand all by myself. That's when Christina looks up, notices I'm raising my hand by myself, just starts laughing and pointing at me.
I'm sorry. I lost it. I started dying of laughter.
I think there's a song for you. All by myself.
Yep, that was me alone in my principles.
I have to say, but even the members on Zoom did not vote with you.
Nope, so I did get outvoted.
Oh, unfortunately.
But you have your principles intact.
I do.
I laughed at you, but also felt bad for you.
Thank you.
You left at and with.
Ish.
Ish. Yeah.
So that's what we have now. The guild supporters are a unicorn and a griffin. With the crest coming out of the top is a phoenix rising from the flames.
Woohoo!
So how do you feel about it, both of you? Mandy, do you feel like okay?
I feel good.
Okay.
I mean, the unicorn and phoenix were my main
Contenders for my win.
contender.
Yeah.
That was what got me. I couldn't vote against the unicorn and the phoenix.
That's fair.
So
I just think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
chitty chitty bang bang.
From the ashes, from the ashes,
Right.
the roses of success.
That is such a disturbing movie.
Oh, it's the best.
We should
though.
do a podcast on really disturbing movies. Hunchback.
So like kids movies
Kids
when we
movies
watch
that
them are disturbing.
children should not watch.
Oh, I disagree. Oh my goodness.
Well,
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was my jam.
all
Although
right.
I might explain a few issues I have.
Let's maybe truly scrumptious. I'll start calling you truly scrumptious. Anyway, sorry, we have diverged.
One final decision here is I get the impression in my research that the animal on the right side of the shield is the one that's given pride of place. Basically, picture where the lion is in the UK. Obviously, England gives themselves pride of place. So, would either of you have strong feelings about whether it should be the unicorn or the griffin that should be like the main one?
Yeah, let's.
My opinion is unicorn.
Okay.
Yeah, I could go either way, but I do love the idea of the griffin preserving and guarding the truths that have been forgotten or neglected or challenged. Especially as regards the...
You have a split vote.
Well, yeah,
man.
I mean, especially as
Oh, man.
That's all right.
the Christian faith.
That's
right?
the best. I'm good.
But I mean, I'm the unicorn lover here, so I can't believe I'm outvoting myself. That's unfortunate.
Well, that is unfortunate because I'm kind of on the fence, and now we have Mandy voting unicorn, you voting griffin.
Yeah. That's tough.
I like the symbolism for the griffin better, but something about the unicorn.
I hear that.
It just.
And courage. Courage is a wonderful virtue that also Christians need in the face of.
I think to me the reason I lean toward the unicorn is, to me, it's more of a beautiful representation.
It's very beautiful.
I mean, that's not to say, the griffin, sorry, all the griffin listeners out there, I'm not calling you ugly. Griffin is more of a fierce
So the unicorn
image,
is more
but the
like
unicorn
elegance.
is an elegant sort of
Okay.
fierceness. But I also, my feelings won't be hurt either way. Is there a way to put it to a vote for the listeners?
Ooh.
We did not plan this, but...
Well, if not, I'll just pick which one I want. So
Okay.
that works out nice.
You've earned that. You've been shot down.
In
other ways.
Just whisper in Corey's ear and pay him to
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
Corey will
Under
do
the
what
table.
Corey chooses. He's the one with the blowtorch.
It's true. It's true.
He probably doesn't even use a blowtorch. I don't know what he uses.
But yes, there are very strong cases for both, I would say.
Well, that was very diplomatic of you, Christina.
I
it's
agree.
true.
Alright,
For
so-
my
Look
hiking
at-
shirt today, I almost
Yeah.
picked a shirt that said unicorn vibes on it. My daughter is very excited, so
Well, that might be okay.
It might be a sign, symbol.
I think
Yeah.
so. Signs
Okay.
and symbols.
Well, there we go. So I
There we
think
go.
let's just go with unicorn then.
Oh,
Let's do it.
all right then.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay.
So next is going to be the charges. So again, the charges are the images on the shield that are in the center. The shield can
And
have
there
a
are
number of different patterns
3,
on it.
right?
It can be, yes. So
Okay.
it can be a plain color, it can have like a design, it can have like a slash on it, can have a cross on it. I chose as the sort of organizing design the chevron. So chevron's sort of like an upside down triangle where a triangle is like pointing up. I chose this for several different reasons. Chevron is a symbol of those who like attempt a great feat. So like think of it as the shape of the cathedral. So like you tried to build a cathedral, you'd get a chevron.
Yeah.
So I thought we're trying to build something here. So that's good. And also chevron kind of shaped like a mountain, right? We have Pikes Peak right over there.
Yeah.
So we have a chevron. So there can be one image to the left of the chevron point, one to the right of the chevron point, and one sort of inside the chevron. So you can have 3 pictures, 3 charges. And I took the liberty of choosing 10, and we'll sort of run through them more quickly than the supporters. The first one.
You mean 10 normal ones? 10
10 possible charges.
Possibles, yeah.
And we're
10
picking
candidates.
10 candidates. That's the
Yes.
word. Thank you.
And keep in mind, these are all found in historical heraldry. I didn't make up any of this, okay? Rules, tradition. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the leaf.
But given that we were are an artist guild, there was talk of creating our own.
That is true.
Yeah, we thought about it very.
I'll consider
Seriously?
it. Just so you know, after I consider, I'll probably turn it down. But I will consider it.
Thank you.
So if one
So much diplomacy in this room right now.
there will be
Wow.
a fair trial followed by a speedy execution.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so the first one is the leaf. These are, quote, religious symbols of faith and endurance. So again, that is very good. The faith part and the endurance part. And also, you know, we as the Anselm Society, we love us some Tolkien. We especially love his story Leaf by Nigel. That was sort of the organizing story of our last Imagination Redeemed conference. So Leaf, that's a good one. Next one is a ship. So picture like a simplified ship with like some sails on it. The reason I picked this is that is a traditional attribute of Saint Anselm himself. Showing
Couldn't say no to that.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's supposed to represent like his voyages to England, you know, to spread the gospel. So that is one of them, the ship. Next one is Hear me out on this.
This is a sore spot.
The snail.
The snail.
There is a guy, an actual person on the internet who has a blog dedicated to finding snails in medieval coats of arms. So
I think his name is Matthew Malama.
the symbol, this is good. The snail is a symbol of patience and reward. I think that's something we as artists should keep in mind. Picture the snail going ever so slowly you barely even see the progress, but then when you look up, he's moved somewhere.
Yes, but
he has a reward.
Okay, but here's my issue. I stepped on one barefoot one time, so that was never going to be a consideration.
I grew up with slugs all over
for
my
me.
yard. I'm
Do you know
sorry.
what? I've stepped on a slug too, and I have to say, first of all, maybe Mandy should wear shoes more often, but also stepping on a snail is infinitely worse.
Because you cracked her.
Because it's the
shell.
crunch and
Yeah,
then
the
the
crunch.
squish. So
Like a
there was absolutely no way I could have voted for snail,
Look
sir.
at this! Look at the shell. It's so pretty. It's
No.
like a spiral. It's
Nah.
It is. And I mean, in fairness to you, Matt.
Really?
That is, I'm
Nah.
sorry. I know it's It's all right. The votes are cast. Nobody
It
likes
is. They're
snails.
I've
cast.
already
But-
lost.
They're
But
cast.
you've already lost. But what is that? It's the the cockle shell of a snail is or cockle shell.
the Fibonacci sequence.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, it
Yes,
is.
Yes,
And
it's
I
like
mean-
the perfect representation of reality. It's kind
That
of
is
like
true.
mathematical. Yeah.
Boom.
And it is.
I know.
I mean, I will say, if I could carry my house with me anywhere and go home at any moment, I would love that. Introvert that I am.
There you go. And
Live in a
additional,
camper.
added to it, there was this fascinating article. It was on the Smithsonian had it, and other outlets picked it up too, on the phenomenon of snails fighting knights in the margins of medieval manuscripts. So picture like you're a scribe, like you're a monk.
I cannot. I just
Picture
almost shot wine through my nose.
Picture
Because
that
I was
you're,
laughing.
You're a monk in this medieval monastery. Your job is to copy out scrolls all day, every day. And eventually, you get a little bored. So what
yeah.
do? You start doodling in the margins. Just
Yeah.
like we all
Yep.
do.
I love monk doodles, but I have not seen that
For
one.
whatever reason, an extremely common trope.
Common?
It's a common trope. This appears all over the place.
You definitely need to share this
Is-
website in the
Yeah.
the show notes.
Yeah.
Show notes.
Yeah.
Is a knight in full armor jousting against a giant snail.
I was going to say, like, how giant? Like the
Sometimes
size of
it'd
the
be like
knight?
the size of a horse, but not necessarily. They vary a lot
So
in
sometimes
size.
larger than
And
the
the
knight?
snails generally are winning. Like the knight might be running in fear of the snail.
I would say that's a kind
And-
of a poor knight.
So
I mean-
there's been a lot of speculation on why they draw these,
Yeah.
and nobody really knows.
Oh, I
Theory
love it.
is
It's
that
the best.
I
it's
feel
a
like
way-
they were daring each other. No, I'm sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
The theory is there was a way to poke fun at knights. Be like all these this knight, he feels
think
he's
you're
in
a
his fancy
stud.
armor, but here they are, they're jousting against this horde monster. It's actually just a snail and they're running. So that's one of the theories, but we don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
you know what, Matt? You should have presented that when
It's
you
in
were
the memo.
presenting.
He did actually.
Oh, it is?
You didn't
Yeah.
read
What
the
was I
memo.
doing?
You were focused on the unicorn.
Oh, it does say that.
Yep.
No, I was
and
just...
I gave you a link to the article.
Unicorn
You
love,
did.
that's all.
It's because I was flashing back to stepping on the snail.
Oh, that's fair too.
Sorry.
So anyway, that's the snail, and
My bad.
here's a little spoiler alert for the listeners. We had this sort of vote, so you like email in your votes. You could pick like a certain number of possible charges. The snail received 1 vote. That was mine. But moving on, we have the harp.
Humility's good, Matt. The humility's good.
Thank you.
Humility, yep.
We have the harp. Most famously, the harp appears really prominently in like the Irish coat of arms. Also, like Guinness, they incorporate the harp, so it's a very common
That's true,
Irish
yeah.
symbol.
I never thought about that.
It's also a traditional symbol
Okay.
for musicians, obviously. So that would appeal
We
to.
see you, Megan Prawl.
Yep. Terry Moon, you are appreciated. So next one is the bee. I think the bee.
I love the bee.
Thank you. I do too.
It was definitely one of my votes too.
So
Yes.
the bee is. All these quotations are from the same cool heraldry website. A sign of industry, creativity, wealth, diligence, and eloquence.
Also, they should not be able to fly.
That is true.
You know that.
Look at their big bodies.
No, it's true though. Like physiologically, they should not be able to fly.
Oh, like scientists aren't sure how they do it.
Yes.
Defy mathematics.
Ooh. And also, in the symbolism, the bee became known as a symbol of creativity, but in the context specifically of community, because they work together in a hive.
Yes.
I think that would be beautiful symbolism for us in the guild.
I do
Oh,
too.
and this isn't related, but Napoleon chose it as his official emblem.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
And that's probably a minus.
I was going to
more
say
than
that's a
plus.
minus point though.
I was about to say.
But
well, my daughter Bethany, who we call Bee sometimes,
there you go.
also loves bees and has them on her jewelry. So
Nice.
So Bethany, I'd say counteracts Napoleon.
yes,
There you go.
Yes, she does.
All right, so next one is the torch. It symbolizes truth, knowledge, purification, and love. And obviously, it was also an important symbol for us at the Anselm Society. It was sort of the sort of animating symbol of one of our past Imagination Redeemed conferences. And for that, our very own Christopher Orr, a friend of the podcast, created a painting of a sort of stylized woman holding a torch, representing like carrying the light of truth into the darkness.
Yeah, the church, I think. Yeah,
Yes,
church.
so
Yep.
so the symbolism is very strong and very present with the torch. Next one, symbolism's not quite so obvious, but I really like it. And again, I was one of the only people who voted for this one. The squirrel.
Tree rats.
Again, hear me out.
Hey,
The squirrel has this habit of storing nuts to ensure a supply of food for the winter. So it makes him a symbol of thrift, caution, and I guess I do get it if I think about it, and conception. I guess, yeah, that does make sense if you think about it. That doesn't really work for us as the guild, but picture a squirrel, has his little acorn, he plants in the ground, he moves on. He doesn't know what's going to happen. But eventually, way on down the road, that acorn grows into a beautiful tree.
Yeah, but he doesn't do it for the benefit of society.
he does
for
it
his
by
own gain.
and also absent-mindedly. I mean,
But it shows
He digs up my flowers to plant his food.
cute.
they have
little
babies
tails.
under my deck. I still like them.
They are cute. I've seen babies.
They are cute, but yeah.
Yeah, I noticed there was some very strong anti-squirrel sentiment floating around the guild in the voting, so
Unfortunately,
it did not come close to winning. So next one is the mirror. So picture like a hand mirror,
Yes.
which seems a little weird, but it's also a symbol of imagination and truth. So symbolism's good, but having a mirror, I'll admit, struck me as like, So like,
It just made me think
like
of
vanity, right?
Well, it makes me think of Snow White.
That's the problem, yeah. But again, it's just imagination and truth coupled together. That's incredible symbolism.
Yes.
But
Yes.
for first of all, an arts guild, and second of all, an arts guild of faith, right?
Yes.
Right.
But again, it's the actual visualization that's a little
Right, because
off-putting.
once you build it, the people who look at it aren't
Yeah.
going to have the words to
Exactly.
accompany the symbol.
Right.
So that's a
And
good
in this
point.
day and age, a mirror, I mean, you might as well have the Instagram logo on there.
Even even like in the Middle Ages through like the Renaissance, the mirror would often it was viewed as like a symbol of vanity.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
like you picture, I think like in the Fairy Queen Edmund Spenser, one of the characters representing vanity is shown like holding a hand mirror.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
And of course, there's even before that, there's Narcissus, right? Looking at himself in the mirror of the pond and turning into a flower.
So even in its own day, the different things can mean different things, different places, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
like the mirror wasn't just imagination truth; there's also vanity. So maybe it's for the best that that one didn't win. Next one is a key. So that's a symbol of knowledge and guardianship, and you can see why. You hold the key to it. This one did pretty well. Did not end up winning, but did pretty well. And finally, we have the rose. I'll admit it, Christina, I added this because I know you're a big rose fan.
Oh, yes.
And Christina, at a recent pub night, P.S., listeners, if you haven't bought tickets, go do it. She gave us a walkthrough of basically, it was heraldry for Victorian ladies.
Yes.
Well,
lovers, actually.
Oh, Victorian lovers.
The men had to know it because they would gift the bouquets to the
I
ladies.
didn't have to do that. You see, you have like this guy like,
What am I telling her by sending a yellow rose?
Yeah, exactly.
Not a good thing. That's
Talk
the
to your
just
dude friend
friends.
and be like, what'd you do? What'd you send her?
What did you tell her?
a white and red striped rose? Are you crazy?
What does that mean? You want her to die?
Right.
Well, there was one. It was like a Japanese variety. It literally meant beauty is your only virtue.
Yes. It was,
Ouch!
Yeah.
Talk about a backhanded. Hey, girl,
You know
you're
what, though?
Super hot, and that's it.
But on the other hand, if she is super hot and that's it, she probably wouldn't realize that's an insult. I mean, sorry. If she's not bright, then whatever. Okay.
Yeah, so the rose had its own language.
But anyway.
Each of the different colors, varieties could mean something, and then the idea is, Christina, you could explain this much better than me, but you sort of assemble the different meanings into a bouquet, then you present it to your intended, and then them and their friends, and you like try to decipher
You would
what
also
they're saying.
discreetly pass petals through lovers' envelopes and books. You'd pass a book on, and there'd be a pressed flower inside.
Oh.
Yeah, very fun. Very
That's
fun.
sort of
We
like
need
the
to revive
equivalent
this.
of, like,
Scandalous.
sliding into your DMs, right?
I slid petals into this copy of the Scarlet Letter. Oh no, that would be really bad. Sorry. Wait. No. Romeo and Juliet. No, that's not good either. Mandy is going to stop talking. What?
Speaking of flowers and crests, though, the Scarlet Pimpernel.
Oh, I love that
Yes.
book.
That's a good book.
Yes.
It is. And
It's an
a good
excellent
example
book.
of symbol and flowers and hair.
Oh, 100%.
Crests.
Yes.
Yeah.
I assigned that when I was a teacher.
I love that story.
I
I
love that
sort of
book.
stumbled on it.
It's
and
the
but
first
it was
like
really
adventure
good.
novel.
Yeah.
And romance novel. It's actually
Yeah,
really
it's both.
beautiful
Yeah,
romance novel.
and
in a good way.
one of
Yeah.
my favorite things to do is make my students try to guess who the Scarlet Pimpernel was,
Oh, yeah.
and they always guessed wrong.
There's also some good Edmund Burke philosophy as
Yes.
played out against the excesses of the French Revolution, which makes me very happy
I
too.
know, it's fabulous.
Yes,
But
we digress.
but we digress.
Well, also, I just need to add, because again,
Yes,
rose lover.
roses.
The rose of Sharon, also a symbol of Christ.
Yes.
The rose
Yes.
is also called the Queen of Flowers. The rose shows up in like all of the literature and poetry of the last
Yes.
hundreds and hundreds of years. And for those who couldn't see my lips, I was making a very weird shape so that I could,
Yeah.
be silly. But that's okay. Anyway, I did love that you
So,
put that in there.
yes,
for
it
me.
is
Yes.
also a
Thank
symbol
you.
of hope and joy, and
It
as
is.
it says here, it is first among flowers and expresses beauty and grace.
Beauty and
Yes.
grace.
So, listeners, I will let you know. We put this up to a vote in the guild where everyone could like email in their votes over the course of a couple weeks, and the voting was very complicated. Because I hadn't quite worked out my system. I was like, I could do ranked choice voting first, count out number of first place votes, number of top 3 votes. So I was this sort of thing I really think too much about. But fortunately, once all the votes came in, there were 3 clear winners. Listeners, if you disagree with this, please let me know, especially if it's one of the ones I wanted. 'Cause-
He might fudge the results.
Yep. So the winners were the leaf, the ship, and the torch. Fourth, just so you know, Christine, if I was to award 4th place, it would be the rose.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes.
Glad to hear it.
The bee was also getting some contention.
I love the bee.
Just let the record show, I would have selected the snail, the bee, and the rose.
Oh, you're in the rose
I did.
camp.
I was pro rose.
All right, I like you better now.
All right, along with the snail and the bee. but,
I think I think I know I did leaf and bee, and I feel like I did ship, but I remember I was going back and forth between ship and rose.
So that is what we have, which I'm pretty satisfied with the results. So I think this will end up very nicely. So I've described the supporters, the charges, the design of the shield, the crest. Let me sort of fill out the picture here. First of all, let me describe the colors. This is something I friggin' love. So in the medieval times, colors, especially like bright, unusual colors, were very rare and very expensive.
Yes.
You can't just go out and find bright orange, right? You need to pay for it. So it ended up being that there's a very regimented list of colors that you had to choose from. And this became like the rules for a very long time. So first of all, there's sort of this first class that aren't technically colors, they're the metals. There's gold and there's silver.
Okay.
That's what they're called, or ore and argent, because, we're Latin and fancy. However, this eventually got stylized into being ore was yellow and argent was white. So you would very rarely see like the silver color for argent. It's white and yellow, but those are supposed to be the metals. Again, picture the physical coat of arms.
Okay.
Physical gold and silver, and eventually gets sort of transported to yellow and white.
Okay.
Next, we have the colors, sort of the traditional colors. This used to be the full list of colors you had to choose from. There was azure, or blue, sort of a royal blue. Yeah. Gules, jewel, it's in French or Latin. That's red.
Okay.
There's
what? How do you spell that?
Or purple.
Okay.
Sable, black, or vert, which is green.
Vert.
Sorry.
Oh,
Sorry.
I don't know French.
How? Sorry, never mind. It doesn't. It's
So this
not
is the full
important.
list of colors. There's blue, red, purple, black, and green. And then you could also add yellow or white and gold and white, but you couldn't like mix them with each other. There were rules for mixing, which I loved. Okay. Then eventually they added a few others, some daring individuals.
Yeah.
But
Artists.
yes, exactly. But they were kind of looked down upon.
Oh.
So instead of being colors, these were known as stains.
Ew.
Yes, there's
Ew.
connotations there.
Yes.
There's murrey, which is sort of a mulberry, sort of reddish purple. There's sanguine, which is sort of a darker red.
That's blood. That's what
blood
sanguine
red.
means. Yeah.
And there's tene, which is sort of a tan. So then eventually they added some other non-traditional ones, which I think are kind of lame. And I think, in my opinion, the heraldry experts should not have allowed this. This is too much innovation. We already had enough colors. So I'm not even going to dignify the rest of it.
So if you had
There's
a time
like sky
machine,
blue and pink and it's
Bah.
like copper. It's like, no, we don't need those. We have enough.
if you had a time machine, you would go back and like interrupt the meeting.
Yeah, it's like,
Where they
no,
allow
sky blue does not get in. Sorry.
No. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm
So
with you. Stick
this is
with
the palette
azure.
we have to choose from.
Okay.
There's yellow, white, gold and silver.
Yeah.
Blue, red, purple, black, green, murrey, which is kind of a bluish, reddish thing. Blood red and tan. So after reviewing the Anselm template, I came to the conclusion that the clear choice is murrey, which I'm now
I like
showing a
murrey.
picture. That is pretty close to Anselm,
very
the Anselm color, right?
I love Murray.
So again,
yes.
that comes from the word mulberry. It's sort of a bright
Can we
reddish
just
purple.
call it mulberry?
No.
Okay.
You asked Matt, the rules guy? No.
Sorry, I should have known.
So the colors are going to
Murray
be
just sounds like the guy at the DMV who told you that you didn't have all the stuff you needed to bring.
Exactly.
Anyway.
Because he cares about the rules.
Well
The colors are
done.
going to be murrey and argent, or this sort of mulberry color and white.
Okay.
And so
Oh,
that's
I
what we're doing.
love that.
Yeah,
oh,
not bad,
nice.
huh? I was really happy that murrey existed because
You were
I was
unhappy
unwilling
with
to break
other.
the rules, but
Yes.
yeah. We also need to be brand consistent here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much all we need, except for the compartment, or like the bit of ground that they're standing on, which
Yes.
I decided is going to be sort of a stylized version of Pikes Peak.
Absolutely.
That I'm looking for guidance to the nation of Malawi. I wasn't kidding early on when I said they have an outstanding coat of arms. Malawi, I'm sure you're listening.
Yes,
Residents of
totally.
Malawi,
Yes.
y'all knocked it out of the park with your coat of arms. So the final thing is sort of this scroll work. So it's like a little scroll or banner along the bottom, which is our motto. This is something I'll admit that I have been struggling with. It's oftentimes in Latin, not exclusively, but the ones that aren't are the ones that are in English are lame. Like, they really are.
I mean, are we considering Klingon? I don't know.
So
No.
We did consider
Guys.
Elvish.
Yeah. Oh, Elvish. Oh,
Listeners.
Elvish. That's right. We did bring that up.
listeners, we know each other pretty well.
Help.
So I can share this. As part of my research, I started
Just
scrolling
between
through
us.
the official registry of Canadian coats of arms. Every coat of arms is registered there, and I was just going through on the couch, and I was Danielle sitting like reading a real book, and I was like, that's lame. It's like, oh, that's an interesting use of the crest there. I like that. Like, I take like a screenshot and save it for later. All the ones with an English motto are lame.
Yes.
So we
I
can't have it
agree.
in English.
No.
We had discussed in the guild meeting Latin,
Or Elvish.
Elvish, it would have to be High Elvish, so Kenya.
Yeah.
Or Anglo-Saxon.
That's right.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
So the question is, now that we have the language nailed, what is it? The motto needs to be something that both represents us as a group, but also, especially for the motto, I think the motto should be aspirational.
Yes.
How do we conceive of ourselves and our mission as
And
a
it's
guild?
3 words, correct?
Doesn't have to be 3 words.
necessarily.
Oh,
But the fewer words, the better, since
Yeah,
we need to
right.
fit it on a banner.
See, I think of it as the banner having like the one line and then the wrinkle and then the, you know.
Right.
Traditionally, it would have
Right,
3
right.
parts there.
Yeah.
Right.
But you could fit more than one word if you had to.
Okay.
But brevity is desired here. So
Brevity is the soul of wit.
There you go.
wonder what that is in High
Eschew
Elvish.
needless words. Oh, there you go.
Eschew needless words. That should be
That's from Strunk and White. Eschew needless words. Eschew obfuscation is another, but no.
So
Anyway.
I do need to contend though. The motto needs to be representational as well as aspirational.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, so let's do quick brainstorming. No judgment in brainstorming.
Oh, Lord.
So people have thrown out like the true, the good, and the beautiful, which is great, but I feel like
Yeah.
lots of people are doing it.
Sorry. Go ahead.
So that was my first point.
Oh, I was just gonna say, do we want any wit involved, any sort of cultural goofiness, or do we want to be super classical?
That's an open question.
Okay. Because one of the things I thought of, which was a very goofy one, was creation. Period. Wait, what was it? I'm trying to think. Oh yes, creation. Period. Create. Period. Repeat. Period.
Oh,
So if you
that's
think
cute.
about it, it does represent creation and sub-recreation and like
And repeat.
Exactly.
You know, you throw that into Latin. That is
Exactly.
okay.
So that's
Something in
one of
the vein of
goofy-
perpetuity instead
Well, yes,
like
and being
So
quality sub-recreation.
I was thinking for a while, how about something based off of a quotation from Saint Anselm himself? One
thought about that too.
One that captures the idea that in order to really see something properly, you first have to come through it through the lens of faith, or the lens of
Yeah.
believing.
Yep.
But then I was like, no, I can't suggest believe to see as the motto. 'Cause
Ow! Why not?
You
No.
know, though, I mean, that was the original reason the Anselm Society was named the Anselm Society.
Do you think we
Right.
could pitch it to the rest of the guild?
I think we could absolutely
Believe
pitch
to
But then-
see, like in Latin or Anglo-Saxon, see which one it looks the coolest in.
Yeah.
Let me see what believe to see in
To me,
Latin
when
is.
I think of the guild, I think of beauty and truth, because I think aspirationally we want our beauty to point to the truth. And I also, I feel like there's a sense of hope there. Especially because not all of us, like in the guild itself, and I think I tend to think of Anselm from a guild perspective more than an Anselm Society as a whole perspective. So I admit that.
That's fine. This is a guild.
But
quest.
right, but oh, that's true. It is the guild crest. Dang it! So we're all at varying stages in our journey in the guild. There are some who have been published traditionally. There are some who have self-published. There are artists who have had gallery shows. We're all at varying degrees along our journey. And so I think of hope also. So for me, to me, I'm in the mode of 3 words because of my image of the ribbon in 3 parts. So truth and hope and beauty are my 3 words. But I mean, I don't know.
Sure.
I think there is something there. I think there is something there. I'm staring at it. I'm staring at the words I wrote on a piece of paper, which is great.
I see you staring.
Which is just great podcast content, by the way.
Oh yeah, dead air is a goal.
For the record, believed to see in Latin is credo vedere.
Oh,
Kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
That is cool. What about call to create in Latin? What is that?
Call
Thank
to
you,
create.
Google.
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, that is a good
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, listeners, as we Google.
Vocavit creare.
Ooh, sorry,
Okay.
I love that.
What is hope?
Vocation.
What is hope in?
I'll type this in.
tough.
Okay. So,
Type in truth, hope, and beauty, and we could do like
Truth?
Jeopardy music for to avoid the dead air problem that we're having.
Veritas space beauty. Oh wait, I spelled beauty wrong.
Space. What?
Whoa. It doesn't
No.
look very good.
No.
Veritas is great, obviously.
Truth, yeah, beautiful.
Hope, spay, then beauty is pulchritudinous.
Pulchritudinous.
What in the what?
Spay. SPE is
So-
hope in Latin. What were
Mandy-
those Latin people
Mandy,
thinking?
I think you were on the right.
Darn
you're on
it.
a good track here, but you're undermined by the Latin language.
But
All right.
You can always look in Elvish.
Exactly. I am looking it up in Elvish.
So that's probably a good place to wrap it up.
I think
Needless
so.
to say, listeners,
We are working on
the motto
things.
is still an open question. If you have any suggestions, maybe send the Anselm Society an email. I know Brian Brown, our president, is always very happy to read the emails that we hear from folks. So thank you to those who have been sending us emails. Or, here's an idea. Maybe when you rate and review the show, send us your 5-star review and send us your motto. That's actually not a bad idea.
Oh, that is not a bad idea at all.
If there's some good mottos, we'll read them on the next episode maybe. So do that.
That would be fun.
So in the meantime, again, let's just sort of summarize where we've been. We've gone through some of the origins of heraldry, the symbolism involved, the origins of some of those symbolisms. And again, heraldry is kind of nerdy, kind of involves a lot of random rules and a lot of archaic medieval bestiaries. But I think it's in service of something that's very useful and beneficial. Again, it's this symbolic language that's been generally agreed upon over the centuries. So it's been sort of handed down from generation to generation, changing as we go. And it allows somebody to tell their own story, their family story, their guild story, their nation story. So when you look at a well-done coat of arms, it should communicate your history, where we came from, what's important to us, and where we're going. It should have all 3 at once. Where we came from, what we value now, what we hope to be in the future. So in that regard, I think it's very in line with our story theme as a podcast. Like, if you want to know the story of a community, look at their coat of arms. And if they did it well, that should communicate the story. All right. Any closing thoughts / last minute motto ideas from either of you?
No, I am very busy Googling how to translate truth, hope, and beauty into Elvish.
And it's a wrap.
I cannot wait to see those search results.
Leave me alone.
All right. So as y'all can probably tell with that, things are winding down at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Fire's down to embers. Customers are trundling home. You polish off your final glass. And Mandy is Googling Elvish on her phone. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.